When they roll out big programs in the United States, they don't do it first. They never do it first. The best parallel and use case would be Argentina. Javier Milei, who was just at Mar-a-Lago with Trump and Elon Musk. And he went in and he said, I'm slashing 90% of the government and I'm cutting this and you're fired and you're fired. And Elon Musk said, yes, that's how we're going to do it too.
Yep.
You know what he replaced it with?
What?
AI machine learning surveillance. You know they have drone patrols now?
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah.
Shoot
You know
the
that
drones
they
down.
are checking people's social profiles to see if they're about to commit a crime. They're doing minority report type stuff.
Oh, pre-crime?
They're doing pre-crime in Argentina.
Oh, pre-crime. Don't be thinking nasty.
Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you are. Welcome to the Matt Kim Podcast. Welcome to Season 6, Episode 2.
What's
the
up,
Matt
what's
Kim
up?
Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Kim, joined by my co-host, Mr. Peter Saddington.
What's up, guys? Smash the like button. Glad you're here. Season 6, Episode 2. We're going religious today.
Season 6, Episode 1 was pretty interesting, so if you haven't heard it, definitely go back and watch it because I think it sets a good precedent of where we are right now.
And we had an episode that was demonetized and censored and all of that stuff that we couldn't post, which I'm sad about.
Correct. And there is a missing episode, the episode that we did talking about all the PSYOPs.
Which I thought was really so much fun.
And that was done the day before the election. And that is live on Rumble only.
So check it out on Rumble, guys. Matt Kim Podcast.
Yeah. YouTube totally said you can't put that one up. Not safe for work.
we made it so clear that was not safe for work.
We knew. And I think we didn't actually dance around it. We knew that was going to
But
make
isn't that telling though that in this world of supposed free speech, Matt, that we're not allowed to talk about certain things? Like let that sink in for a second. There are certain things in the world that you're not allowed to talk about. Why is this like a reality, Matt?
Well, and I can't even tell you the topics that you're not allowed to talk about because if we talk about them, then we get taken down again. So there are topics that you can't talk about. And I think people can put together which ones those are.
Yeah, but I'm thinking about the meta narrative here, though, Matt. Why do we live in a world where that is a reality? Like we can't talk about Stanley Cups. Like the things that we talked about are almost innocuous as a Stanley Cup, right? It's almost as life-changing as a Stanley Cup could be. I could talk about Stanley Cups 3 times in a row in a minute, and they're not going to block us, but there's some topics, Matt, that are just a big no-no.
And we are told that on certain platforms, you have free speech. And what we're finding out very quickly is that also is not true. So if you haven't watched the breakdown, if you're curious on how X algorithm works, definitely go back and check that out.
That was a good episode.
That was really interesting.
Dude, can we get the TLDR, the took too long, did not read version?
Basically, if you are on X, it is control territory and you are shown what they want to show you. You do not see what you want to see. And depending on who you talk to, who you relate to, who you're associated with, you are given a reputation score, social credit score. And they will just put you into the corner of the internet and lock you in your digital prison, and no one will even know that you exist.
So, you're saying that the Elon Musk free speech platform, also known as X, that the conservatives and the right all hail as the be-all, end-all solution for the conservative world of speech. Are you saying, Matt, that that's actually controlled?
If you want to mimic and parade around the mainstream talking points of what pretty much Elon now decides, you have fun. You're allowed to do it, and you will be fine. If you want to question the mainstream narrative of that application, then you're going to have trouble.
Oh.
So it is my view, it is, number one, it is a data collection mechanism because they need to feed their machine and they need to feed their AI and they have to train it. So it's a data collection apparatus, number one. And number two, it is just propaganda.
Oh. So what you're saying, Matt, if I can overly simplify this, is that when you go on Fox News, you know the paradigm in the lanes in which you are allowed to walk. You go to MSNBC, CNN, there are certain lanes you have to stay in. Are you saying that X, Twitter, There are lanes that you have to stay in?
Exactly.
So is there actually a free speech platform out there, Matt? You would know.
I'm still very bullish on Rumble.
Hmm.
I think they do a good job. I spent a lot of time talking to Chris, obviously, and I think he really does believe in the idea of free speech. I think he's on. People think that there's so many people behind him. Really, he's on an island by himself, trying to fight the good fight. And I do believe that he's willing to go down with the ship if it ever comes push and shove. So I like him a lot. Is it the best platform? It needs work.
Yeah.
But if you compare it to, say, YouTube, which has thousands of employees working on it, and Rumble is working on it with a team of like 30.
Tens of thousands, actually.
Then you understand why one would be a lot more polished than the other. It's hard to catch up to a $1 trillion platform when you are pretty much self-funding one platform.
Fair enough. And so what Rumble doesn't have is a Twitter-esque type of clone or a Twitter or an X type of, feed of sorts. Are they thinking about going into that market, or are they just going to stay in the video content world?
I think they're making the shift towards a streaming platform, right? They're really favoring people that stream. I think actually that's the right move too. I think that is the future. I think that because we're seeing so much AI procured content, we don't trust the procurers any longer. We don't trust the algorithm any longer. We don't trust the narrative of the people saying. We don't trust the people that we watch. The most honest way to get someone's ideas and views is to watch them live because there's no editing, there's no cutting, and you get a feel of who they really are. I think that is going to be the future of live streaming, and being live interactive content, I think, is also the future. So more people are apt to watch when there's a community of people watching together. It's like going to a sporting event, You don't watch a sporting event when it is like if you record it and you say, I'm going to go back and watch it later, you usually end up fast forwarding through it.
Yeah.
But if you watch it live, then it's more fun. If you have friends that are watching it with you, and even if you don't care about the sport or that game itself, if your friends are watching it, you're more likely to watch it. The analogy that someone once told me was, if someone gives you 4 tickets to a baseball game, and you ask your friends, hey, I have 4 tickets, does someone want to go with me? And your friends say no. Most people, they just don't go.
Not wrong. It's
right?
more of a social event than anything else.
If you can convince your friends to go, even if they don't like the game, they'll sit there and enjoy it.
Because they're having fun with you.
Correct. That's what streaming content is going to be in the future, I believe. You're going to go and watch things that you don't necessarily care about because your friends are watching also. And we're learning quickly right now that all your friends are developing online.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that that's a good thing, but that's the inevitable. That's where we're going, if we're not already there.
And so the short answer is there, for a clone like X, which I heard about one recently called Bluesky, which has been all over the memes because I think it's just liberal people only, and it's another fail whale where people go over there and then they try to post stuff and they immediately get censored and blocked. And so I guess the short answer is there is no other platform like X, Twitter out there currently that gets to balance out the clearly biased, if I could use that word, biased, content that X is now clearly at fault at.
I think Bluesky is actually really interesting.
Tell me more. Why?
It is actually that, I believe, is the Jack Dorsey clone of Twitter.
Is it really?
Yeah. Huh. Jack Dorsey did that. And he believes in letting people design or choose their own algorithm. So right now it may seem but you can build your own community on there and have your own algorithm for it. So if you want to watch a certain thing or you want your community to see a certain thing, then you have the ability to control that. Meaning it is not an AI deciding your algorithm, but is a procurer deciding your algorithm.
Yes. And so you have control of inbound, outbound.
Correct.
You have control of the overall theme of content.
Correct.
And so here's my issue with that, is that as we move to these micro communities where it's like, you know what, I just don't want to hear any MAGA. I don't want to hear any, Maha. I don't want to hear any conservative stuff. I'm just going to completely block it out and I'm going to live in my even more echo chamber. I feel like this is actually a problem, Matt, because how are people actually going to know what's going on when we create these systems that make it so easy to turn everything off.
But that should be your choice.
It's fair enough. But if this is the direction where the world is going, then the large mega news like companies and platforms are going to not exist anymore. Everyone's going to live in their little echo chambers all over the place. Like no one's going, you know what I'm saying?
That's how real life is. You communicate and you meet with your real friends in real life, and you kind of agree on most things in life. And that's it. You don't really have a huge desire to go out of there.
Fair enough. But let's go back to the 60s, the 70s. They didn't have the internets. They only had that one TV box with a talking head that told them the global news. And so since that's going away, because there's all these factions and all these news organizations, and Twitter now is a conservative news organization, I guess, is there ever going to be a true to form like NPR or public service announcement, public radio, where they're actually That's the question I'm asking. Well, is there going to be a place in the future where there's actual objective, like data, not news, but like reporting of what the hell is going on all over the place?
Just like people will choose to create biased communities, someone will just have to choose to create a truthful community. Right? And you have the option to know the full truth if you want, but at least you have the choice
to opt in.
Correct. Versus now where they tell you that this place is free and this place is true, and you find out it's not. That's actually more deceiving because you're getting the same thing, but you don't ever have the choice of it.
Yeah. And I can totally see the systems at play as those truth platforms grow and those truth communities grow, that they censor them because they don't want. I mean, think about that. If we have, let's just make it maybe a bad example. We have Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, Twitter. So we'll just focus on 4. Each of these have their own lane, their own bias, their own agenda, their own theme. As we break these 4 up into 40,000, 400,000, 4 million little micro communities, it's going to be even easier to create fractions in communities, fractions in countries. It's going to be easier to control people because no one has a common thread or common stickiness or common glue. Like, let me give even an example that makes a lot more sense. One of the biggest problems with mass immigration is when you smash all of these different cultures into one place, let's say the size of Germany, which is half the size of Texas. There's no common cultural glue that'll hold them together, which is why they're all just going to constantly fight.
And
there's no unity. That is the bottom dollar end of story game plan. If I inject into a country all these competing ideas, all these competing cultures, all these cultures that clash, these worldviews and philosophies that clash, there will be no unity in that country. There'll be no common thread. All traditions will be wiped away. There is no commonality. There is no shared understanding. There is no peace. That is what's happening in every country of the world. And if we take the digital analog, Matt, that's what's happening in these small communities. It's the digital fracturing of unity.
Well, I think it's the opposite. I think as society, physical society starts to fracture, as they start to remove borders, because that's what they've done. They've made borderless countries. They're removing hegemony and they're removing your individual autonomy
and sovereignty of the
nation. Sovereignty of the nation. So what people are going to do is restructure into digital communities of people that adhere to their values. So the communities themselves will be like countries, where you, even if you're not physically in the same location, you are working online, you're communicating with, you're interacting with, because most people live their lives online, right? At this point, right? Like 80% of your life is online.
It's totally Ready Player One. Yeah. You remember when they're all living in those shanties all the way up to the sky?
And just because your neighbor is your neighbor, they may be your physical neighbor, but they may not be your community member any longer. And this is not what I like. I would prefer us to go back 40 years and live a more traditional lifestyle. I think the reality of it is that we are so far down this slippery slope that there is no going back to it. And maybe this is the future. And the natural progression will be people will divide into communities online. Like we have our Discord community. It's people that are like-minded And some of them hang out together every single night.
Yeah.
They probably hang out with each other more than they do some of their friends in real life.
Fair enough.
That ends up being your actual community.
But is that a good thing?
It's inevitable. I think that's the difference, right?
So if we track this logic, Matt, we are truly moving to Ready Player One, where everybody lives in absolute squalor and everyone lives in absolute poverty, but their avatar is worth $9 million in the digital world. In their community, they're the fucking king.
Yes.
But they've never actually met any of their neighbors that are actually about 50 yards away from them.
Probably.
Like I mean, I'm going to the logical extreme here, clearly, but
I think it will put a premium on group live events. For example, I remember I used to play a lot of Call of Duty, and I got introduced to a friend of a friend, and somehow we never met in person, but we used to play Call of Duty together every night. We became really good friends because while we're playing, we know everything about each other. And one day he's like, "Yeah, I'm getting married. You should come to my wedding." I'm like, "Yeah, bro, of course." You know what I mean? And it
this
felt
is
like
when we were naive and ignorant, though. Also,
and it felt like I met someone that I've known my entire life.
Wow.
Because we spent so much time together. And I think that small example is really how it's going to be, is that people live in their digital communities separated all over the world. And eventually they're going to do these meetups. You're going to have these live events. And people are going to fly for it. And that's where you get to meet them. You get to connect with them. You get a little bit of human connection. And then you go back to your internet life. I'm not saying this is the preferred way of life. This is not what I want society to be. But if one option is that we live in this truly controlled dystopian future, that you have no control over how things are, and the alternative is at least you can build your own community of people that you can associate with and you have common values and goals with, that's the better of the two evils.
Well, I just want to say a note for the record, how nerdy Matt actually is, because he's blamed me like, "You're such a nerd, man. You're a nerd, bro. You're a nerd. Going to guys' weddings we've never even met."
It was like awesome. It was sick.
No, I don't doubt it. I'm sure you had a very fun internet rendezvous with your homie.
You know, and you know people by their screen name, which is really funny.
What was his screen name?
I forget what the screen names were.
BFG rocket launcher.
But there were
69?
a few other guys that we played with at the wedding too, because a bunch of that group went to high school together, and I just somehow got joined into the group. So they all knew each other in real life, but I never did. And then I got to meet them all, and it was like an amazing night.
I just had something come up from my spine from 25 years ago. I had a guy that I played games online with, and his handle was Butt Muncher 69. Those were good days, man, when we created those handles.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. What was your AOL handle from 97?
I don't remember what it was.
Come on. You have to remember it.
Well, okay. I'm not going to say. Because
did you do the Asian thing? Will and I were talking about this. Did you do the Asian thing that was like
Asian?
X Asian cutie XXX?
I did know a lot of Asian cuties in my life.
Bro, we were talking about that, Will. The AOL Asian cuties,
I think
man.
I had a friend who her license plate was literally Asian cutie. I think whatever name I used to game was the name I used on Reddit, was the name I used on like different forums. So I don't want to say the name because then you can go dig up all the old.
I'm gonna say my name because I used to destroy guys in Street Fighter, and so my handle, and this was just as degen as people think degen can get, but my handle, and my wife can validate it, was Brittany Pink Gamer.
Whoa, that is so gay.
Dude, when you got destroyed by me, and I started, you got destroyed by me, and I started doing the teabagging on you, and then they DM you and be like, "Yo, you just got destroyed by a girl, bitch."
Peter was literally an online trans
before it was cool. Dude, you can ask my wife, man. Brittany Pink Gamer stomped you, fool, bro. You got beat by a girl.
I'm just gonna put it out here. My name was definitely cooler than that.
Yeah, but dude, I was trolling fools, man. I was trolling fools. Brittany Pink Gamer. If you got beat by Brittany Pink Gamer 20 years ago, I feel sorry for you, bro.
But I think that's the future of society. Again, not the most. It's not what I want, but it's inevitable.
You know, I feel like the way that the world moves is always slower than the headlines. And so I always have that as kind of my anchoring logic for anything like this is like, you know what? At the end of the day, when you and I are done with this podcast, we're going to walk outside. We'll probably hear some birds chirping. Nothing's happening. And so as we can go into the dystopian future, I don't think you and I will live to see it, which could be a good thing.
Oh, I think it's literally around the corner.
Do you really?
I do.
Do you really?
Yes.
You live in an area where they still have community barbecues,
Yes.
which is
Amazing.
unheard of in most of America now. Because certainly in my area, we don't have. I don't even know my neighbors, and if I did, I do know some of them, and I don't like them. But if they offered, I wouldn't go. But you live in a community where there's a shared understanding. There's a community of trust, right? It's a culture of trust. And so you guys can do these things. I don't think that's going to go away for the next 30 years unless all of the, let's just say, the colored folk move into your area and change it up.
So, not necessarily the topic I want to get into today, but
I thought we were,
but yeah, we're already here. So, you know how they've been announcing this D.O.G.E, Department of Government Efficiency.
Dude, I was
Elon Musk and Vivek.
I was one of the first people to DM them and when they said apply. And I was like, I'm here, man. Let me know. My body is ready. Like, help me. I'd love to join D.O.G.E.
So, okay. So what they
He's like, okay.
when they made the announcement, when Trump made the announcement, he called it the Modern Day Manhattan Project, which is a really weird name to call it, by the way.
Yeah.
Because the Manhattan Project, for the rare few of you that don't know, it was a secret government project to develop a nuclear technology and the atom bomb.
Before our enemies did.
Correct. To call it the Modern Manhattan Project alludes to something similar.
Oh, the symbolism is always in that thing.
Of course. If you look back, actually, Elon Musk was invested in a program in early 2000s called Project DeepMind.
Yes, that's right.
And that was called, at that time, the AI Manhattan Project. That's what people refer to it.
Oh, man.
AI DeepMind, he was an investor, and Peter Thiel was an investor in DeepMind when it was in UK. That eventually got bought by Google, and it is now Google DeepMind.
That's right.
They are the aforementioned leader in artificial general intelligence. They're the closest of anybody. When there was an email that was released between Elon Musk and Sam Altman, and in it, when they were talking about before they started OpenAI, they were talking about, I think we need an AI Manhattan Project. So calling the development of artificial general intelligence for the last 20 years for AI technologists was AI Manhattan Project. This is not a new term. For Trump to call it that, you would have to assume that's a correlation. Yes.
It's not a far reach. Not a far reach.
I believe 100%.
Okay.
And in a recent live stream where Elon was playing Diablo, and someone asked him about AGI, and totally in passing, and no one clipped it, no one wanted to talk about it, I don't know why. He said he 100% believes that AGI will be achieved within 2 years.
Makes sense. Accordingly, 2027 is when things are supposed to really head downhill.
AGI, for those that don't know, means that artificial intelligence can think independently and is smarter than humans. That's where we are. So they believe that AI will be smarter than humans officially in less than 2 years. When Elon Musk slashed everything in Twitter, because the headline is Elon Musk caught 80% of Twitter, and because of that, Twitter is fantastic. Look how great it runs. It's no problem.
90%. He slashed 90% of them.
He slashed 90% of Twitter.
Yep.
What he replaced it with is AI.
Oh, yeah.
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 So AI is running the algorithm.
Oh, yeah.
I truly believe that the engineers at X, they actually don't even know how the algorithm actually runs anymore.
Yes, and actually there was a guy who was an engineer, YouTuber, long story short, he did a deep dive in what he believed to be was the contingency of folks that weren't fired in the mass firing, and the majority of them were machine learning engineers,
Correct.
PhDs, artificial intelligence engineers, etc.
So X is literally testing how you can run an organization at scale using basically just AI.
And if I may, you actually created a very powerful use case, which again, guys, go back and see Matt's video, 2-hour video on the X algorithm and how they're controlling everything. But in our last podcast, for those who didn't see that, you brought a really great use case of Tiffany Fong. And I actually spent some time thinking about that at home. And like when I was at home, it came alive. The ability for an AI system for, let's say, Matt Kim, day one, you start a new X account. And for some reason, you're the chosen one. For me as an engineer to say, oh, Matt Kim just joined. Let's make him feel great. And then I just have to press a couple things and suddenly you get some followers.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, this is good. Let me post some content about this. And then you post more content and you get more engagement because it's all like, no, there's no one behind the system here. It's just the AI is like training on you, like literally training on you. And then it's like, oh, I'm getting a lot more followers. People are like, let me talk about this. And it's like, no followers. Like, the system didn't like that. And then you start typing more stuff back in line. You're back in line. And then you get it boosted. Like all of this can be done programmatically.
Yes. It's not even humans. AI is determining.
It's in my office, in my garage, I had that moment where I was like, damn, I feel bad about being in what I believe to be, and I think verifiably, like Twitter hell. Because like I get zero engagement and a lot of them are bots. But at the same time, I felt this sinking feeling, Matt, after our conversation. I was like, dude, I'm getting played every single day. Every single day. And we've talked about this on podcasts. Like my ex Matrix wants me to be a racist. They think I'm pure, I'm perfect soil for that type of degeneracy. They're like, Peter Saddington, man, like he is weak-minded enough where we can make sure that he becomes a racist. Like that, I almost feel like I'm seeing the meta of the Matrix. Does that make sense?
They've added labels to your account based on what you stay on longer, what maybe you look at. And over time, they've molded you into because they want you to fit a category specifically, and they keep you in a category, and you can't break out of it. And
I don't scroll Instagram anymore. X, they're feeding me right, dude.
Separate tangent, but Instagram just added a feature, which is an amazing feature, where you can reset your algorithm.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You can go into Instagram.
I like cars and boobs, though.
And
don't take the cars and boobs from me.
It's the only app that gives you the ability to start your algorithm fresh.
That'd be great if that Google had something like that.
How amazing is that, actually?
Please reset. Yeah.
I couldn't believe they rolled that out.
No
I mean,
way.
it's such an obvious feature to have. I've actually asked for that on X many times.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I want to reset my algorithm because I'm getting the same shit all the time.
Yeah.
No ability.
And I don't want to see Tiffany Fong talking about stupid shit anymore.
But Instagram, they let you reset your algorithm. So you can, and they clearly say, if you reset your algorithm, your feed in the beginning may be kind of boring because we don't know anything about you anymore.
Good.
So you may have to engage and your algorithm will build over time. So don't do it too often because you're not gonna enjoy that. But if you start watching, puppy videos and you watch 1, you watch 2, and you watch 5, and you watch 10, all of a sudden your entire Explorer page is puppy videos, but you want to get out of the puppy matrix, just reset your algorithm. I thought that was a really cool feature ad, by the way. I couldn't believe they did that.
I'm almost wondering because it's like things are conspiracies until they're proven to be fact. Then we tolerate the fact that it's there, and then we accept it, and then entrepreneuring individuals end up monetizing and mobilizing and activating that thing that we used to thought was evil, but now it's like we can make money on it. Here's my thought process: since it's obvious that there's censorship, since it's obvious there's systems that are focusing you and forcing you to into this matrix, into this theme or whatever. Wouldn't it be auspicious for a developer to say, you know what, instead of resetting everything we know about you, how about we just allow you to select the matrix you want to see?
I think that's the future.
Seriously.
Yeah.
I should just go to Instagram and be like, you know what, I want to be a blue-haired sheepdog today, and all I want to be fed are blue-haired sheepdog puppy videos. Like, that's all I want to see, Matt.
I think the future is one of two things, or maybe a combination of both. it'll be either choose your own algorithm, which is why I think Bluesky is really interesting. Right now, it's run by blue-haired liberals. Therefore, that's all the content that's on there. But once more people go to it and you have the ability to choose your own algorithm, I think that's a really interesting model. And then the other side is that people either go to procured content, meaning you trust the actual procurer of the content.
The curator.
Exactly. And you get curated content. So instead of trusting an AI algorithm to tell you what is good to watch, you find someone that you trust and they curate the content for you. That's basically what YouTube podcasts are, by the way. When you watch someone that's a YouTube reaction guy, you're actually watching his curated content.
Yeah.
Because you watch 10 clips that he reacts to, he's choosing what content you watch.
Yes.
So that model is actually proven, just at a different scale.
Oh, yeah. And Spotify's been doing this forever, right? If you want to find curated content, I mean, you can make your own curated content as a playlist. So this
we
makes
do
a lot
it
of
for
sense.
music, like share me, give me your playlist and then I listen to your playlist. That's curated content.
Did you see my tweet about the VR headset where you can put on the VR and you can skin reality? Did you see that video? I'll bring it up. But it's exactly that. You put on the VR goggles, and this guy's walking he's walking at a beach and on a dock and a beach, and he's got his VR goggles on, and he's literally just switching skins. Suddenly, everything's snowy. He's walking, and he's at the dock. He's at the beach, right? And then he switches it, and suddenly he's in medieval times. It's like, bro, that is what you're talking about. It's like choose your own books from the 80s and 90s. Choose your own adventure from the 80s and 90s.
Exactly. Choose your own adventure.
Yeah.
And I think even your homes will be that way.
Ooh, yeah. Why have real windows when you can have digital windows?
Everyone's going to live in a box. Everyone's going to live in a box. And if you are one of the compliant ones or you've made it past
the Black Mirror shit
level
right there.
1, level 2, then if you want to live in, like Nevada, then your background will be Nevada. If you want to live in the Dystopia, then you can live in Dystopia. If you want to live in something different, then you can be able to choose the reality around you.
Yes.
Because that is very possible. We have the technology to do that now. It's just they haven't done it at scale. But if you see how all the apartments are going to basically boxes.
Did you see that Black Mirror where the guy was in the box?
Exactly.
And he had to watch the ad?
Yeah.
Dude, that's hell. That's absolute hell, man.
And you
had
can
to
use
watch
your social credits to skip the ads.
Because I didn't use all of my carbon credits yesterday, Matt. That's right.
Yes.
I didn't take a shit yesterday.
And how do you determine a social credit score on people?
How they engage online.
That leads back to Doge.
So tell me more about your misgivings about Doge.
Okay. So now we know that
Elon has issues with this.
Elon has rolled out the running an organization based on AI machine learning.
Yes.
We've agreed that he's done that.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, he's kind of made it somewhat clear too.
And we know that Peter Thiel and Elon Musk have worked together for a very long time.
Yes.
Since PayPal.
PayPal Mafia.
Yes. They've been invested in the same AI technology and machine learning since day one.
Yep.
If people don't know, Peter Thiel owns Palantir. Palantir was started with money that Peter Thiel made from PayPal and from funding from the CIA.
Yes.
This is like fact. You can look it up. There's no question about
Peter
that.
Thiel and Elon Musk are so deep in our government. It's like they're literally leveraging our taxpayer money right now.
And Peter Thiel is the one that funded J.D. Vance. Peter Thiel is the one that funded Vivek Ramaswamy.
Yep.
Peter Thiel is the one that funded Blake Masters. And Blake Masters runs a company called 1729 Capital, who Don Jr. just became a partner in.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So Peter Thiel, Vivek Ramaswamy is a proxy for Peter Thiel.
Yes.
J.D. Vance is a proxy for Peter Thiel. These are most people that can connect any dots will agree that's true. Okay.
Yes. And you shall speak what the puppet master says because his hand is so far up your ass that it goes all the way to your mouth hole.
And Peter Thiel, Palantir, has contracts with the D.O.G.E., with the CIA, with IDF, and ICE. What they do is they take data and they put it in a way that's consumable, and they put people in lists and groups and categories so you can track them, watch them. They basically they do the back end to support mass surveillance. And the reason why that's important for ICE is because if you need to deport people, how do you find out who to deport? That's why Peter Thiel has a contract. And then all of a sudden you're like, well, J.D. Vance and Trump, they're saying we're going to mass deport people. How do you do that? Well, you have to run a AI-driven mass surveillance machine learned program, in order to find out who you're going to deport. Because they're not trying to deport people that are here by... They're not trying to deport people that are here as asylees, because those are legal immigrants.
Right.
They're trying to deport illegal immigrants,
Right.
meaning they're trying to deport the gotaways.
Yeah, but
How do you get the gotaways unless you're able to get all the data and surveil them?
Right, and we're handing them cell phones, so we have their data.
Correct. No, we're giving the asylees the cell phones. They're not technically illegal. The illegals are the gotaways.
Okay.
In order to get the gotaways, they don't have the cell phone because they never registered in. To find them, you need surveillance.
Everything's surveilled.
So when you put in a Vivek Ramaswamy, who we've realized is a proxy for Peter Thiel, who runs Palantir, whose company is up, I think, 100% since election.
Makes sense.
And Elon Musk, who has history of taking organizations and having it run by AI machine learning. And you put them together and you put them in the Department of Government Efficiency and you call it the Manhattan Project, one can conclude that they're going to run a AI-driven mass surveillance program on American citizens.
And this mass surveillance program, in many ways, will focus on government inefficiencies. And if we think about the positive side of it, if we go to like El Salvador levels,
Okay.
then maybe, just maybe, he might gut, just like he did with Twitter, 90% of government, which would be an amazing thing.
So
the problem is we have tens of millions of employees of the government who would be very angry.
So the best parallel and use case would be Argentina with Javier Milei.
Yeah.
Javier Milei,
Yes.
who was just at Mar-a-Lago with Trump and Elon Musk.
Yep. And he,
by the way,
he broke up, and he's continuing to break up so many government inefficiencies.
And he went in and he said, I'm slashing 90% of the government and I'm cutting this and you're fired and you're fired. And Elon Musk said, yes, that's how we're going to do it too.
Yep.
You know what he replaced it with?
What?
AI machine learning surveillance. You know they have drone patrols now?
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah.
Shoot
You
the
know that
drones down.
they are checking people's social profiles to see if they're about to commit a crime? They're doing Minority Report type stuff.
Oh, pre-crime?
They're doing pre-crime in Argentina.
Oh, pre-crime. Don't be thinking nasty.
So, okay.
Don't be thinking nothing,
If the
Matt.
guy that we are modeling after is Javier Milei, who did the same exact tactics. Because when they roll out big programs in the United States, they don't do it first. They never do it first.
No, they gotta install it in a smaller country to see if it works.
And it worked. He was here. He reported that it worked. And now we're like, we have the new D.O.G.E Manhattan Project.
Well, yeah, they're not technically a government entity, right? So, but they will have access to government individuals to make these types of decisions. Is how some people are saying that how the bifurcation of responsibilities lies. But you bring up an interesting narrative arc. You bring up an interesting narrative arc. Did you see Javier Milei on Lex Fridman?
Mm-mm.
You didn't watch that?
No.
I watched the whole thing in the background like I do with everything when I'm at work in my office. He sounded really good. And Lex Fridman really liked all of his ideas.
Because Lex Fridman loves AI and the future of controlled AI.
Yeah.
So you bring a guy that wants to roll out AI mass surveillance. You put him on a guy that's very pro AI.
Yep.
And you say, look at what the results were. They were amazing.
That's essentially what it was. It was a 2-hour marketing campaign of like,
yeah,
here's how we change things for the better.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry about the misgivings of how we've maybe, crossed some lines of human rights. We don't have human rights in a lot of countries, so don't worry about that. But here's the good, here's the good, here's the good, here's the good. So there was a lot of good. There was a lot of, let's just say, peripheral conversations around technology and the leveraging of technology. And so I think now with this conversation we have here, I think it was pretty clear that Javier Milei has successfully rolled out a dystopian techno future.
Yes.
Or we have techno overlords, and we now have flying drones that will surveil you, scan you, and let the authorities know if you're moving towards any type of pre-crime.
It was pure propaganda.
Yes, most
in
likely.
order to usher in.
Well, they have to tell you the plans.
Well, they want to normalize it for people so that
Yeah.
when it happens, then it's like, oh yeah, that was supposed to happen.
Do you
No,
know-
like it's not supposed to
Do you
happen.
know how many redneck farmers, when they see that drone, they're just going to grab their shotgun and they're just going to blow it out of the sky?
I am very anti AI controlled, machine learned mass surveillance.
I think it's a terrible idea.
It's a horrible idea.
Well, you're outsourcing decision making to a machine, and you don't know what the machine is leveraging to make determinations and decisions.
And in 2 years, those machines will understand, will be smarter than us. Meaning, I watched an interview with Eric Schmidt, the former CEO of Google.
Can I stop you for just a second? AI is already smarter than most humans.
Correct.
Actually.
But we can still kind of understand. And I don't know if most people know this. When AI, through machine learning, if AI gives you an answer, for example, on ChatGPT, you ask it a question and it gives you an answer. The people who designed the AI don't actually know how the AI gave you that answer.
Yeah, it's black box.
Yeah, black box. That's what they call it. You can look it up.
Yeah, it's black box.
People don't understand how an AI came up to the decision to give you that answer. They just plug in a bunch of information and it just works. That is crazy that we are going to allow a technology that we don't actually truly understand how it does its decision making.
Mm-hmm.
We're just hoping that's going to continue to be right all the time. We're just hoping that's correct.
Yeah, and the worst part about it is the efficacy and effectiveness of the models is a function of the source. So if the source is bad, if the source is controlled, if the source is constrained or limited, then it's going to spew out nonsense.
Yes.
And what I mean by nonsense is untruths, right? And so you might say, so is AI the problem, or is are the data sets the problem? I've had these conversations with other technologists before, and I'll just give you the short answer. In my opinion, the issue is the source. We know that Wikipedia is being changed all the time. Revisionist history 101. Everything's being changed all the time. If the source of data, the source of facts, the source of history is being changed all the time, then the results of the models, the results of AI are only going to propagandize us towards the messages that they want us to know about, right? That's the problem. The problem is source. What the systems are doing is they are exacting or executing on the source. If the source is bad, then the AI is going to be bad. It's going to make bad decisions.
We are at a place now that if you teach an AI to do 10 tasks, it will figure out how to solve task number 11, 12, and 13 without telling how to do it. How does it learn? We don't know. We just know that it does. I was watching the interview with Eric Schmidt. It's a talk he did on Stanford, and I believe they tried to take it down.
Yeah, they did try to take it down.
And people like cut it and copied it. And
they said, oh, this is him talking about, yeah, I know where you're going, yep.
And he said that we're going to get into a place where AI is so much smarter than humans that it will start coding in a language that people don't understand, because they're going to realize that there's another language that's more efficient than the language we use.
Yeah.
And we as humans will not understand the language in which they code. They're going to develop a language that's more complex than we can comprehend, meaning that it's going to get out of control really fast. That's why Elon, quote, said, AI is the unleashing of demons. That's such a weird thing to say, by the way. That's what he called it.
It's
the unleashing of demons.
He said, if I can, he said more than that, though. He has said, he's gone on record multiple times talking about the absolute worst case scenario of risks of this, but yet he's somehow able to wrestle with the tension of the fact that he's actually pushing it as well. And so you wonder if, let's just say, the wolf is guarding the sheep pen, if you know what I mean, you know?
It's really scary times, I think. I think people don't give it enough credit. And I think it's something that people need to be cognizant of. I think that's why it goes back to the beginning of, we're going to be put into these digital communities, and you're going to have a choice. You can either choose to join a community, or you can be put into a community, into your grouping.
I need you to see this video, Matt. And we should edit this into the real thing. Play this video. Play that video. That's the future right there. That's the future.
Yes.
So that is the future. He's skinning future, dude. That's on beta right now. Can you imagine? Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Can you imagine putting on goggles and putting on these goggles and saying, I want this room to turn into a medieval parade. And suddenly you're dressed up in medieval attire. These cameras are turned into like flickering flames. And I wouldn't even know the difference, bro, because this is amazing. I actually, when I saw this video, Matt, I was like, I want this. I want to skin the world around me. I don't want to live in this. Reality is too familiar. I could have dragons and fireballs and Hadoukens flying at my face.
I want to live in a real reality.
But don't you want to skin reality just for fun?
No.
You wouldn't want to see what it would look like if this world was a snowy masterpiece in North. No?
I'd rather go travel.
Really?
Of course. But I think it is our inevitable future. I think that everyone is playing to see who gets to control that future.
Oh, yeah.
I think that, I think the U.S. government is trying to be the ones that determine your future, just like other people are. I don't think they're any different than anybody else at this point. And I think there are people out there in the world trying to create alternatives for you so that you cannot live in that future. Maybe we'll get into that another day. But either you're going to let the government group you against your will, or at some point you may have to just pick your group to go with.
So, if you were a future-forward technologist and you had the capabilities of building platforms and systems all on your own, what would you do with this foreknowledge of sorts of where the trajectory of the world is headed? What would you do as a technologist? What would you build to secure yourself or protect yourself or to steel yourself against the upcoming waves of technology overlords and AI bots and AI drones running rampant?
Well, nothing you can do about the physical, because if the drones physically come after you, or the government and police, whatever, they physically come after you, like, it is what it is. You have to adhere to the laws in which you live physically.
But we have those Blade Runners out in the UK who are cutting down those cameras every single day, right?
But most people live maybe 75% of their lives online digitally currently. It will probably get to 80%, 90%, and most interactions you have in life. Like I said, I went to the guy of the wedding of the guy I met on a video game.
And that was like 20 years ago?
That was like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Imagine now, everyone's communities. I mean, imagine the people in our Discord that hang out every night. Your communities are online. I think is to create communities that are autonomous, that are in a way decentralized, and also have maybe their own sovereignty. So that you are not under, your digital world is not under the laws of a U.S. law.
If you were to create this digitally sovereign digital space, cyberspace, would you be considered a king?
What's more interesting is that
I just want to talk about it.
we'll get into the king in the next episode.
Oh, man, I want to talk about the king, man.
If you could figure out a way to create digital kingdoms for people, your business would actually literally be a kingmaker. It may be the most lucrative business ever. You're talking ultra high net worth individual only, and you get to give them their own kingdom in cyberspace, which is different than what Metaverse tried to do. Because Metaverse tried to give you a kingdom within their kingdom. It's actually, you're on someone else's platform. That's not freedom.
Yeah, you're just
living in the digital world.
Yeah, you're living in a fiefdom.
You want your own decentralized community on your own server in your own protected sovereign land, and therefore your digital life is protected.
And you have true
freedom.
Rights within
Correct.
that.
Because it is your country's laws that you abide to, because it's the digital world. Fascinating.
I mean, it is very fascinating. Let me say this, and we talked about it a little bit offline, but there are pockets of entrepreneurs and individuals who are thinking about this. The one that I can bring up is Liberland. For those of you guys, check it out. I'm a citizen of Liberland. You can look at their docket and see my citizenship there. And so there have been individuals who began to experiment with decentralized digital spaces and also creating analogs that are in the real world where it actually represents that new country. So there's experiments there, but you're playing against a deeply entrenched traditional old world thinking of politics and all of that stuff. So to be able to build your own kingdom digitally from a technology standpoint, not hard. The question is sovereignty and approval and verification from the other sovereign nations that what you have is truly substantiated as something that can have rights and have sovereign citizens that have rights to that. So
it's really similar to the beginning of Bitcoin, where the first 6-7 years of Bitcoin, because of the decentralized nature, everyone thought, oh my gosh, the SEC is going to come after us. The government's going to come after us. Can we even do this? Is this even legal? Is this loud? They're going to come after us. And long story short, due to the decentralized nature of it, they didn't.
Yep. And now we have BlackRock jumping in big time.
They just fear porned everyone, saying that it's not possible to be done. And then it keep people away while they started amassing.
Stacking their chips, which, by the way, we are...
Not 100 yet, right?
We are 99 at 99,000.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
I hope you've been stacking your Bitcoin, guys.
And 12 years ago, it was just theoretical.
When I first got in, it was $2.
Yeah. Now, the idea of a decentralized country is theoretical.
More than theoretical.
But it's maybe the future. Interesting.
So there's these like decentralized places where you can buy digital land. Have you seen those before?
Yeah.
Those were very scammy, but I can see a legitimate version cropping up soon.
Eventually, it would be legitimate. You know,
it needs the right king.
It needs like structure, but it's possible. I think, man, where are we, Will?
We've talked for an hour, almost an hour, haven't we?
50 minutes.
50 minutes. Yeah, we spent this. I'm sorry for taking us off the where you wanted to go, man.
I think that's fine. I think we get into.
I just started asking questions and we started going this.
I think we get into eschatology next week. Then
we want to talk about the end of the world next week.
I think the end of the world can wait.
I like that. The end of the world can wait.
I actually think it's intertwined.
I have shit to do. The world can't end just yet. I got shit to do.
I think it's intertwined. In Christian eschatology, it says that if you take a literal version of it, that the end of the world will happen if you follow the 7,000 year model, right? For 2,000 years from Genesis to Abraham, 2,000 years from Abraham to Jesus, and 2,000 years from Jesus to now, plus 1,000 years of the millennium rule. So that 6,000 years, which would be the end of civilization as we know it, is right around the time we are.
Yeah.
If a lot of people were to calculate it out from the actual death of Jesus to 2,000 years, then that puts us roughly at 2027, 2028.
2027, 2030-ish or so, yeah.
The 2027, I believe, is if you use that the AD 33 was when Jesus died, then 2028 is roughly the year that the end of the world starts.
And I'm no expert on this, so everything I'm about to say is about to be wrong, but there are like Mayan and Incan and solar and Roman and occult calendars of yore and of past that have all, interestingly enough, there's been magnetic shift people who understand that stuff. And what's really interesting is a lot of those calendars and all of those calamities that are supposed to happen in those calendars are all kind of directionally similar to the timeline and the date that we're in now. And so, so the next 10 years, Matt, is going to be a banger. I'll tell you, it's going to be a banger. We have no idea what's going to happen in the next 10 years. From now to 2030, dude, we could see the most amazing things. We could see aliens coming from sky, or maybe they're coming up from the ocean. Who knows? There's people talking about that. Who knows, Matt?
Well, it does say the beast does rise from the sea.
Yes, we got airplanes on video disappearing in the middle of nowhere with flying orbs. You've talked about that.
Yes, we do see that. So if you take 2027 as the start of tribulation and end of the world, 27, 28, and you are understanding that it takes 3.5 years for the rise of the Antichrist, then you're at 2030, and then you have Agenda 20 2030.
Maybe Klaus Schwab knows something. Maybe he's a master of the occult.
And you see all these ancient calendars go to 2030. And they talk about the rise of the Antichrist will start at the beginning of the 7-year tribulation, which is approximately the same time that Elon Musk is telling us artificial general intelligence will be ready.
Oh, that sounds like a mark.
What the mark is, I don't know if it's a physical mark, it's a theoretical mark. We can get into theology and eschatology again next week.
This is one of the best trailers for our next episode, guys. Make sure you check it out.
But until next week, make sure that the world doesn't end because we got to do the episode.
Yeah. The end of the world can wait, guys.
Thank you, everyone. See you next week.